Hello fellow aviators, VREF Simmer here. Welcome to my first maiden voyage live in the new Aerosoft CRJ 550. Today we're flying from Denver over to Aspen, Colorado, and I've been eagerly anticipating this flight. Really excited to be doing this with you all today, and beautiful aircraft model as you can see on the exterior here. Let's go ahead, hop on up into the cockpit and get everything fired up and ready to go. So we'll start with the airplane at cold and dark today, just so we get a full startup. And you can see, wow, I'm just blown away by the cockpit textures and everything. It's just a beautiful aircraft. So we'll start with our safety checks since we're just now getting onto the aircraft. We saw the flaps were up when we were coming up to the airplane. And I'll come back here. We'll make sure that all the circuit breakers are in, which they do look like they are. As we know, that's one of the first things to do in the safety check. And then we come down here and we make sure that the ADG handle is down, the radars are off. Want to make sure that the thrust levers are in shut off, spoilers are retracted, the flaps are up. Let's go ahead and sit back down here. And there we go. Make sure that's up. Gear lever needs to be down and all the hydraulic switches are off. We'll go ahead and flip on the battery master. Get that fired up. And let's see here. Let's check our batteries. I think I'm going to actually use the external power to get us going, but we have at least 22 volts in that on the batteries there, which is good. So let's get the ground power cart connected, if it will let us do that. There we go. Ground power cart is connected. It didn't have the chocks on our aircraft, which that'd have been a bad thing in real life. So all right, so there we have the external power connected. The DC side is powered up. The AC side's looking good. You just want to check all these synoptic pages on the electric side, make sure everything is powered. And so now we can come down and get some lights on. It's a late morning flight over there to Aspen, since they don't let you fly in at night typically. So nav light is on, and we'll go ahead and get all the hydraulic pumps on here so we can engage the stab trim. And this is when we get that test message that we talked about in one of the tutorial videos. If you hadn't checked out the tutorial videos, please make sure you do so. I explain all of these things a little more in depth, but the documentation I have attached is what really explains things more in depth. So we need to wait for this spoiler stab and test advisory message to go away, and it is gone now, so we can go back. I'm just going to switch all the hydraulics into auto and on, which is when they're all down like that. And I'm going to go ahead and flip on the fasten seatbelt sign and the no smoking sign, the emergency lights, get those armed. All right, so at this point, I'd go through the safety check, which please check out the tutorial videos, the safety check tutorial video. You can get the checklist I'll be using from that video. So on the safety check, usually you do this silently, just make sure you got everything. But just having to scroll over to it. So the power up check is what it's actually called on here. Circuit breakers checked, radar off, thrust levers shut off, battery master on, AC electric set, hydraulic pumps 1, 3A, 3B, and 2 are all on, as we can see there. They're all on the down switching, which we well, actually we did that earlier. They're auto and on now. Stab trim switch is engaged, parking brake on, IRS. Let's go ahead and get that firing up now. So that's why you have these checklists. So see, I forgot to do that part of the flow, but hey, checklist caught me. So I'm actually using a Navigraph database here. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully it doesn't completely go crazy on us. But I'll put in our airport there, keyed in, and typically you want to use the GPS position for the set position for the IRS. And the reason for that is if you look at an airport diagram, like here at Denver, that airport, especially in the real world, that airport reference point is going to be different than the GPS one, which you can actually see that we do have some differences between the GPS position we put in and then that airport reference point. And that's Navigraph database that's given us that, which is much more realistic than what was originally loaded here with the default database. So we'll go ahead and go through our receiving check. We have the documents, they're checked. Maintenance status is checked. It's a clean aircraft. Emergency equipment, that's all back here and back behind our seat here with the PBE, portable breathing equipment, flashlights, all of that. That's all checked, and emergency lights, armed, standby instruments. Let's take a quick look at our ISI, integrated standby instrument here. Airspeed should be down at 40, no flags on there. That all looks good. And gear pins, they would be checked. All right, so we'll go ahead and start going through our, we'll get our ATIS and clearance. We're using PilotEdge air traffic control today. And I do have a Navigraph. I should be able to bring up the Navigraph charts for you all on the screen here. So let's check here on the 10.9 Jeppesen page for Denver International. And ATIS is 134.025. So we'll set that into nav2 here or com2 here really quickly and take a listen in for that. So we hit the 1-2 switch here to get to com2 if you wanted to tune with the radio tuning unit. But I'll tell you the easiest way to tune in a frequency in the CRJ 200, just go to the radio page here and type it in. And you don't even have to put the decimal in. That's the other nice thing. See, it automatically does it for you. One thing that's backwards from
this flight following is requested.
Let's listen up.
Read back all runway assignments and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Papa.
Enjoy the view of the Rockies while pick
Denver
up the
International
ATIS.
Airport. ATIS information, Papa. 0253 Zulu. Wind 150 at Niner. Visibility 10. Few clouds at 9,000. Few clouds at 22,000. Temperature 4. Dew point -1. Altimeter 3011. Arriving runways 16 left, 16 right, 17 left, 17 right. Departing runways 16 left, 17 right, 258. Visual approaches in use. ILS runway 16 left, runway 16 right, runway 17 right, and runway 17 left approach in use. Multiple RNAV Zulu approaches in use. VFR departures, contact clearance, delivery. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is listed. Read back all runway assignments and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Papa.
Alright, so that's Papa. We'll go ahead and turn off the audio for the COM2 now. And typically in COM2 you're going to want 121.50, which is the guard frequency, active, and you'd be monitoring that. So let's switch over here and we'll make 1215 the active frequency. We have ATIS standing by on 134025, and we'll just have that standing by in case there's someone with an emergency. You'd hear it on there and you'd be able to help them out and relay that message to ATC if needed. All right, so next up we need to get the clearance, which I'm going to look at it here on my Navigraph page on my electronic flight bag I have on my flight desk here. 118.75 is the Denver clearance frequency, and Navigraph uses the actual frequencies, which is really nice. Or not Navigraph, but PilotEdge. PilotEdge uses the actual frequencies, which is really nice to have. So there's Denver clearance 118.75, and I'll give them a call and pick up our clearance. Denver clearance, Skywest 5733 to Aspen with Papa.
Skywest 5733, Denver clearance, clear to Aspen Airport, Connor 7 departure, runner transition, then as filed, climb via SEED, departure frequency 126.1, squawk 5104.
Skywest 5733, cleared to Aspen, Connor 7 departure, Warner transition as filed, climb via SID, departure 126.1, squawk 5104.
Correct.
Alright, so we have our clearance now. Let's go ahead and get some of that set in right now. So our squawk code was 5104, which that's also something that's going to be easier to do over here on the FMS. So we'll put that in right now. 5104, and you can put it down here in ATC1. I'm also going to put in ATC2, that way if we accidentally set it to that side, still have our code for us. Alright, and let's take a quick look. We were cleared to climb via the SID, so let me pull up our Navigraph charts really quickly. And the Connor 7 departure with the Warner transition, and looking at this, you can see our top altitude is flight level 230, and we were filed up at, I believe it was flight level 240 today, so we'll set in flight level 230 in our altitude selector window here.
Phoenix Tower, Alaska 1945, hold
which
in
it's going
short
to take
7 Alaska,
a
ready
little
to
bit
go.
of time.
Alaska 1945, Phoenix Tower, runway 7 left, clear for takeoff.
It's something I'm going to do while we're waiting is
7 left, clear for takeoff, Alaska
let's
1945.
get all this set up, but then I have to set the pressurization, which in Microsoft Flight Simulator, it takes a long time to go up 7,000 feet in the pressure selector in the CRJ. Let's see, the other thing we could set right now is let's go ahead and set the altimeter setting. So it's going to be 3011. There we go, 3011 set across the, well, I didn't have it bound. So if you want to make it to where you don't have to set the 3 altimeters in the cockpit, you can come here to options and barometer unit synchronization, just change it to synchronize. So now, we'll save that. Now we should be able to set all of them on the same thing. See the standby instrument 3011 and now the first officer set also 3011. Alright, so here's something we're going to do really quickly. We're going to get the cabin pressurization set. So I'm going to pull, I don't think you all can see this on your side, but I have the ED2 screen up, and it takes quite a while to get this up to the airport elevation at Aspen, which is, we'll keep rolling on mouse wheel, 7,838 feet. So we have to get all this all the way up to 7,840 feet, which takes quite a while. Right now I'm at about 3,600. I don't think you all can see it on your end.
Soccer Brown Tower, 1 Foxtrot Romeo, clear of 02 at Juliet.
So 4,600, still have a ways to go. So we're just now getting to the elevation of Denver, a mile above sea level. Yeah, I'll be there soon, but this is just one way to use your time efficiently while you're waiting on the IRS to finish its alignment. So 7840, and I have it set now. And here I'll show you where that number is if you're wondering. Landing elevation. So I had to take it from 0 all the way up to 7840, which takes a little while. And then one other thing that we can do here is typically I like to put 1,000 feet above the field elevation in the MDA window, and that for takeoff, and that's just to, that's a reference for the flap retraction altitude. I don't always put this in. This is just something to help. So if you have an engine failure procedure, one technique that you can use to remember where you would go, you could put your flap retraction altitude in the MDA window like I'm doing here, which as you can see it's really slow. In the real plane, you just give the knob a quick rotate and it'll go up 1,000 feet. So it's no trouble to get it up to, like we're having to get up to 6,400 feet. Another good thing about doing it now while we're waiting on the IRS to align is, like we saw, Aspen's at 7,000 feet above sea level. So say we're shooting the localizer approach in there, which we likely will be. Our MDA, minimum descent altitude on the approach, is likely going to be up at, I think it's at 10,000 feet or so. So that way we won't have to spend all this time rolling the knob when we're in the air. Because this is a short flight, a lot to do, a lot to focus on.
Taxi with November.
So it's going to be...
It's
going to be a challenge. Okay, so we're getting to 5,000. We're almost there. As you can see, IRS is still aligning.
So
I'll get this up to 6,400.
Tango, 5 Tango Golf.
So like I said, you could put the flap retraction altitude as in the MDA for takeoff, and if you had a heading to turn to, you could put that in the DH window, which this is just a technique that's used in the real world just to make it to where you can easily remember what you're doing. But we're going to roll it down to 0 for now, and then to clear it, you just hit the center knob there, the tall knob. Same with the MDA. If we want it to go away, just hit the center of the knob, see it's gone, hit it again with this MDA selected, it comes back. Alright, so now we have our IRS aligned, PFDs are up, which is great, so we can start with our first flight checks. Lighting is all good, it's daytime. Nozzle steering's off, the wipers off, stall protection pusher switch is on. Let's check our display reversionary panel. Just make sure that all of the modes are working in case we were to lose some of our displays. We already looked at the V-speeds there are not set yet. We'll get those set in a little while. We actually could probably set it right now. We might as well just go ahead and do it while we're here. So I can't show you my release. I use SimBrief to make a release, which if you're looking for excellent flight releases, I do recommend SimBrief. They do have profiles in there for the CRJ 550, 700, also the 900 and 1000 when that comes out later this year from Aerosoft. But I actually fly this flight with United Virtual Airlines. They give me passenger manifests and loads. So we had 47 passengers. Those are our cargo numbers. Our planned fuel is 7780. We're up at 7862. So we'll go ahead and set that payload in the simulator here, and we'll copy that to the FMS also. So we can see our trim for takeoff is going to be at 5.8. And our V speeds here will be flaps 8. It's a dry runway today. We'll set all those speeds and see now it's all set over here. 128, 128, 136, 185, and 146, which is V2 plus 10 in the speed bucket. So that's all set now. For the baro knob, let's press the center, make sure it goes to 2992. We'll roll altimeter back up to 3011. There we go. And let's just make sure our bearing pointers work. We might have to use those going into Aspen today. It just depends. Sometimes some squirrely stuff happens with the radar here. I'm just making sure all these buttons are working, the ranges are working. Format, let's check each of them. They look good. Nav source, we're in white needles. Green needles will be on side nav radio. And then the yellow needles are cross side coming from the number 2 nav radios and FMS over there. But we'll keep it in white needles for now. Clock looks good. PFD is in great shape. The radar is off now, which is good. We'll come up here to the overhead panel, start with the electrical panel and work our way down. Everything is good. Let's do our fire detection monitor test. So I'm actually going to pull up. If you press right alt and click on the screen where that plus is, it brings up a large window in your screen. I don't think you all can see it on the stream. But that makes it to where I can see the fire assist OK green advisory message, which came up there on EV2. And the other thing you want to look for, all these lights on the glare shield and also the cargo bottle lights down there, make sure that they come on and indicate everything looks good. Hydraulic shutoff valve switches, guards are closed, lights off. All of our external lights are good. ELTs are reset, passenger oxygen switches on. Already have the passenger signs on, the emergency lights aren't. Hydraulics are auto on. Let's check the left right engine panel, ignition panel. I'm going to go ahead and start the APU right now, actually. So let's go ahead and we're looking for the APU and bite test, which just went away. APU door is now open. And we'll hit the start stop switch and start our time here. Cancel that master warning by tapping the cancel. And we'll watch the APU start here.
3432.
So APU start should be out by 60%. The white start light should go out also. So there we go. We're past 60%. You can see the start light's out, and then at 99% RPM plus about 4 seconds, we'll get the green avail light on the APU power fuel switch. And hey, Evan Moore, great to have you here. So the dude said you have to zoom out to make it go faster. Evan, that is a great suggestion. I'm going to try that. Because let me tell you, flying here in Colorado or somewhere with high altitude, it takes a while to get everything done. Thank you, Evan. I'm gonna check that out here in a sec after I finish this flow. So our panels here look good. Let me switch this over to a view where we can see a little bit better. Got the recirc fan on up here, and we'll have the. I'm gonna go ahead and set the windshield and probes, all of that on, since we'll be going pretty soon. Do the ice detection test here, and we have the ADS. Heat test OK advisory message. Great. So we'll select that switch back off. And we have our passenger signs on like we said. Okay, let's go back to the captain's seat. If I can, I tried to set up some custom views, so this is my first flight using them. Hopefully they work pretty well.
Portland Tower, good
Alright,
evening. Challenger
here comes the
475
loud
Tango
part.
Golf
So we'll do
is
the
closing short
stall
of runway
test, make sure the
10
continuous
left.
ignition light's
Ready
on,
to
and we're showing
depart.
continuous ignition on the status message, which
Golf,
we have.
Portland Tower, fly heading
And then we'll do the
085,
ground props,
runway 10 left at Tango, clear for takeoff.
JIPWIZ test. And you probably remember this
Heading
from the
085, runway 10 left.
tutorial video.
Clear
It
for
plays all of
takeoff,
them.
5 Tango
Alright,
Golf.
so while I was doing that,
November 0 Alpha November, ready to be stimulated, contact for
here I'll do it right now,
18.9.
Evan, while we're waiting on this JIPWIZ test to finish. So if I zoom out, we should be able to, let's try it.
Too low, flaps.
So we're at what, 6410?
November
Alright, let me give it a good spin.
runway 23, formation west.
Whoops, swoop
November
me over
90 Alpha
to,
November, Farmington Tower, runway 23, clear to land.
here I'm going to,
Runway 23, clear to land, November 90.
I pulled up a large screen on mine.
200. 100.
Yeah, it's a little bit faster, I'd say. Yeah, thanks for the tip, Evan. That's quite helpful.
20. 10. Wind shear.
All right,
Wind shear.
so I have that set. Let's continue with some of our other tests here. Do the anti-skid test, turn it off, make sure the caution messages come on, turn it back on, they went out.
Pull up.
Main landing gear,
Caution. Obstacle.
overheat test, the warning
Obstacle.
fail test.
Obstacle.
Arm our thrust reversers. And we'll come down here, we have the radar off, all of that off. We need to go ahead and get our backup tuning unit to standby. Stab trim's already on, the mock trim's on, source selectors are all in normal there. And also, let's do our TCAS system test. So we do auto, relative, and norm. That's the typical modes that I use. That's the ones I've used in real world. And then do the test. We can see everything coming up here on the MFD, and then we'll get the TCAS system test okay. All right, very cool. So that's all good. I'm going to go ahead and run the first first flight check. And so side panels checked, set, electrical panel checked, fire detection checked,
Departure.
left
5
right
Tango
hydraulic
Golf.
shell valve panel checked, fuel panel checked, bleed air checked, APU panel checked, start panel checked, hydraulic checked, set, ELT arm reset, passenger oxygen checked, cabin pressure panel
Caller,
checked,
Portland
air conditioning
departure
panel
evening,
checked, anti-ice
Challenger
checked,
475 Tango Golf,
standby
is
compass
heading
checked, glare shield
S085,
all up
to
here
South
checked,
900, climbing
left rear instrument panels checked.
Challenger 475 Tango Golf, Portland
CVR, we
departure,
did not check the
contact
CVR yet.
Cuba,
So
climb
see,
and maintain
that's the
15
thing, you go through a flow,
direct Cougar 15,000.
and then after you do
5
the
Tango
flow,
Golf.
you run the checklist, and that way you remember if you didn't do something or not. And it's much faster than a read and do with a checklist too. Okay, so CVR is checked, ICUS checked, upper pedestal up here is checked. The thrust lever quadrant's checked. Avionics checked, stab mock trim checked, which I do need to do that really quickly. I'm going to use the stab check here just to set it to 5.8. So that worked. And typically we would also check the rudder trim, which I do have linked to my Honeycomb Alpha, and then the aileron trim. Let's check that really quickly. And I do not have that mapped
We
to
do
my
have Echo
Honeycomb
and
Alpha.
we'll expect visual approach for 15, runway 15, Barker 429.
Hey, Charles Johnson, welcome aboard. Good evening. Also, hold down the shift key while turning the knob. It goes faster. Okay, that's a great tip. Thank you guys for the tip. I really do appreciate that because it was really taking a while. So the aileron trim's a pretty important thing. One of the flight sim streamers I watch, XP72, he had a pretty bad accident the other day trying out the CRJ. He had the aileron trim full right down, and as soon as he rotated, crash. So it's important to make sure you have all your trim in the green before you take off, because Aerosoft does not have the takeoff configuration warning system monitoring those things right now. The real plane would say config, and if it was your aileron trim which was out of whack, like XP's was, it would say config aileron, and you would abort the takeoff, which is one of those immediate action items you probably saw in my second tutorial video. Take off, discontinue immediately, figure out what the problem is so you don't have an accident.
Albuquerque approach, citation 872.
But thank you for that. Let me try the thing you tried, Charles Johnson. The thing you were suggesting, holding down shift. So, yep, that definitely helps. Thank you for the tip, guys. So I can zoom out, I can hold down shift. Perfect. That's going to make this Western U.S. flying much more enjoyable. Alright, so we did the aileron rotor trim check, source selectors normal, low pedestal check, first flight check complete. We need to go ahead and program the FMS, which I have not even talked about that in tutorials yet. Evan Moore, yeah, I saw XP kill us past it. Yeah, XP is great, isn't he, Evan? He kept a good attitude about it the whole time. But... Okay, so like I said, I have the latest Navigraph database in here, so you can see we're good to the 24th of March. We already have our Posinit completed, and we're going from Denver to Aspen, which is Alpha Sierra Echo, and 5733 is our flight number. We'll be operating United Express. This is SkyWest flight. There we go. And let me pull up.
Aspen approach, citation 390 Bravo.
So we're cleared as filed off the Connor 7 Warner transition. I'm thinking we'll be doing runway 25, Connor 7 Warner transition, and then we're going to Zacor.
Descend and maintain flight level 10.
I'll try to get this in quickly, guys. I know it's not much fun to watch someone programming an FNS, but I hit departure arrival twice to get to this page where I can choose the arrivals into Aspen, and unfortunately it looks like they do not have the actual approaches into Aspen yet, so that's sad. I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And let me tell you a quick tip, this is such a quick flight that
I
need to put Aspen in here. This is such a quick approach that really we need to probably go ahead and we'll load some fixes in when we get there. But okay, that's a good threat to know about. They do not have the approaches loaded, so we'll see what approach they're shooting at Aspen. We'll get that loaded as soon as we're in cruise flight. Okay, so let's make sure everything looks good on this side. When we loaded everything, we have a total distance of 125 nautical miles, and we were planned at 125. So everything looks good on the legs page. We'll do a briefing here in just a bit. Radio page, make sure they're both in auto. Let's say FMS auto tune. And advisor VNAV is enabled. Make sure the fuel management's on predicted mode. And VNAV setup, everything looks good. We come down here to the MFD menu. I typically like high nav aids, take the airports out, speed, altitude, missed approach. Select VNAV on the flying pilot side, so that would be on the the left side for today, and then on the page 2 range altitude select. That'll get you the banana bar, which we'll look at here a little later. And in the real world, if you're using the IRS, you get the Loran position, because as the IRS drifts, you'll see this. There's a here. Let me see if I zoom in, if y'all can see it. See this little tick mark here? Watch, when I take the Loran position off, it disappears. So you'll see the IRS actually drifting. And you'll see that drifting as you if you fly for quite a few hours on the real CRJ. Hey, Charles Johnson, not minding at all. Okay, excellent. Well, good. Yeah, definitely doing a full flight here on this one with all the checks. So I'm glad. All right, on the right side, same thing. We'll for the FO, we'll get the high nav aids. I usually don't put the airports on there. That'll really clutter the screen. Missed approach is good, and then the window, just change it to on, and you'll see he'll get different data. One of the things, we'll get VNAV info on the captain's side, and with the FO side at on, it will show you how much fuel you're planning to land with. The computer says you'll land with right now, so that's a good thing to know.
Turn right, heading 130, Walker 429.
Alright, so we have that. We're going to be using normal rated thrust, so that's going to be 88.9. As you can see, if you had a flex temperature, you could enter it here. Say, for example, we had 32, and it should change to purple, or magenta, actually. And now we'd be flexing. But I do not have good numbers for that, so I'll delete flex out. And now we have that normal rated takeoff thrust up here. So that's how you can set a flex value for your engines. In the FADEX system, the full authority digital engine control computer does all of that for you. Alright, so I think we have it all set up in the FMS, and let's go ahead and do a quick departure briefing. So I have not posted anything about this yet. I will soon on the YouTube channel, but I have a kind of a formula I use in the departure briefing. Just make sure you cover all your bases before you get the aircraft moving, and it also makes sure that both the captain and the first officer have a shared mental model of what is going to occur in the flight. That way, if something isn't going according to the plan you all discussed, someone can speak up and hopefully trap an error before it turns into an accident. Alright, so first thing, airplane details and weights. So typically you make sure you're on the right aircraft with the tail number, the crew names are all correct, which they are today obviously. Our plane gate fuel is 7,780. We have 7,800 on board. Men fuel for takeoff is 7,280. The weather right now, the ATIS winds are 150 at 9. 10-mile visibility, it's VMC conditions. Temperature is 4 degrees Celsius, and 3011 is set on the altimeters. Departing runway 25 would be my guess for us today. We might get one of the other runways down to the south, but that's one threat that we could have. One other thing I want to set in here is I want to set this toward the runway heading, because I think that we'll look at the departure in a second, but okay, there we go. But one threat is we could have a runway change with the winds being 150 at 9. They might take us to the south. Alright, so for our forecast in Aspen right now, let me pull that up. Here, I'll let y'all look at the Rockies since I can't pull up the sim briefing here. In X-Plane, I can easily pull it up for everybody to look at. Okay, so our forecast going to Aspen, winds 190 at 6 knots plus 6 miles. Few clouds 15,000, few clouds 25,000. So visual meteorological conditions. We do have an alternate of Colorado Springs. And the forecast there, winds 120 at 6 plus 6 miles, few 25,000. I always get an alternate going to Aspen because you never know what the winds are going to do. I know flying in there a time or two, you can have basically a wind alternate because you can't land because of wind. But I think today weather's looking great. No NOTAMs that should affect us today. Let's pull up the Navigraph charts. We're going to take a look at our taxi out route. Go ahead and get a plan for that. So here at Denver, we are parked at Bravo 84, which is right down here. And so if we're going to runway 25, we'll likely be taxiing to the west on the Bravo Sierra taxi line. And we'll be exiting. So Bravo Sierra is right here at 4 west, 4 whiskey. And then likely it'll be a left turn on Golf all the way down to runway 25. We have 12,000 feet of runway there, plenty of runway available. And runway heading is 263. So we'll be looking for when we line up on that runway. If we do have any problems below 80 knots, we'll abort the takeoff for a variety of reasons. Above 80 knots, we're only going to abort the takeoff if we have an engine fire, severe engine damage, or the aircraft is not able to get or stay airborne. And we'll just refer to that as CRJ standard abort criteria. And you'll probably hear me reference that in the takeoff briefing. That's a way to just have a mouthful of what I just said in 2 words, or a few words actually. Standard, CRJ, abort. So that's our plan for takeoff. And let me pull this back down for a second. We need to go look at the V speeds. We're playing flaps 8, speeds of 120 Actually, let's change our speeds, it looks like. Let's set this again. Speeds are 125, 125, 134, 182, and 144 in the bucket. And that's all set. Alright. That's good. And we'll plan speed mode and nav mode on an RNAV departure, and then autopilot on at 600 feet AGL. Flap retraction will be at 6,410, which is set in the MDA window there. And then we'll accelerate to 250 knots, and then accelerate to 290 knots above 10,000 feet. For our clearance, we're squawking 5104, which is standing by. And we'll climb via the SID on the Connors 7. Let's pull that up. We pull Navigraph charts. Here we go. So Connors 7 departure. And you all should be able to see now. And let me see here. I have to pull it up in a window on here, so I gotta make sure that you all, if you can't see, please let me know. But on the Connors 7 departure, it's loading. You need to verify this with the chart, so apologies while I pull this up. Okay, here we go. Off runway 25, climb heading 263. So we need to set, you always set your heading in initially, because the autopilot will initially fly heading and then change to FMS mode. So heading of 263 is now set right there. And to 5,934 feet, then a climb direct to foams. And at or below 10,000 feet, then on a track 248 to cross Tavern at or above 12,000. Evan Moore, $10. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you. And if I didn't say this, sorry. I really do appreciate that a lot. Let me go to plan mode here really quickly. And you can see it's kind of like the Airbus. If some of y'all have flown the Airbus, you can go to plan mode and then you can scroll through the pages with these arrows. So like we said, climb heading 263 to 5934, then direct foams at or below 10,000, which was shown, taverns at or above 12,000, Vaughn at or above 14,000, Tebow at or above 16, Connor at or above 17, and Werner. Okay, here's one threat in the CRJ which can get you. So they said climb via SID in our clearance, right? And we looked at the top altitude being 23,000 feet, flight level 230. But we have to cross that first fix foams at or below 10,000. So CRJ will not level off. So we need to set 10,000 feet in here because it's quite a few miles to there. And after we cross that, all the other altitudes are at or above, so we can set flight level 230. So that's a threat. You really have to watch out for that in the CRJ. It does not have a VNAV function like a lot of the other transport category aircraft that we fly in these days. All right, I'm going to, let me take the Navigraph chart down so it isn't covering everything. Again, and that looks good. So we have 10,000 set, and then after that it's Zacor. And the airport, and we'll have to set in the approach when we get closer. So that's the plan. And transition altitude flight level 180, departures 1261, and the only terrain, the mountains. Okay, here's a really important thing to brief. This is very important. Let's take a look at our en route IFR charts because we need to see what the minimum off route altitude is over the Rocky Mountains. There's a huge terrain threat for us today because if we lose an engine, we need to know what altitude we can set in the altitude alerter to drift down to as we run through our immediate action item for a dual engine failure or even a single engine failure. So go to the low en route chart here, and you will see there are these numbers in each of the latitude, each of the boxes bounded by latitude and longitudinal lines. So 16,800 feet is the minimum off-route altitude in that grid. They call it a grid Mora, and that's 14,700, a little closer to Denver. So basically, we're going to start, if we have a dual engine failure, we're gonna set 16,800 in the altitude selector so that we don't get too low. So that's a good altitude to have in mind in case you have problems. And the Aerosoft CRJ has been having some problems with this where people have had engines shut down on them. So we'll keep that in mind. That's the departure briefing. Hope, unless y'all have any questions. I think we have a shared mental model here today, all of us. So if y'all see me doing something that's not according to our plan we just discussed, let me know. We're all a part of the crew. So thank you. All right, let's do our before start check. So exterior inspection complete. We can, obviously there's not much you do in flight sim, but you can see exterior model looks great. And I'll go through the exterior inspection in another video. I think the dude, he had a pretty good video also on exterior inspection if you're wondering about that. So check that out too. Exterior inspection complete, pressurization set, anti-ice set, hydraulic set, passenger signs on, altimeters 3011 cross-checked, IRS, they are set to nav, anti-skid arm, thrust reversers arm, parking brake on, radios and nav aids set, yaw damper engaged, oxygen, oop, we didn't do that yet, see, that's why you run a checklist. And there's a long drawn out procedure in the real plane to do this, but just hit the press to test button there, and you'll see you'll hear it. And I saw the little yellow cross appear there, but we'll consider oxygen check and 100% departure briefing complete. Before start check complete. So we're ready to get rolling here. Let's go ahead and close up the door. And we have the APU running, so
Captain, the cabin is secure. All passengers are aboard.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the ground power cart. And I'm also going to we'll assume that they've already connected the tug, but it won't let us push back if we don't remove the wheel chocks. And I'm going to turn off this, well, actually we'll need it for performance, so we'll leave it for a second. But I'll turn it off before takeoff because I did hear some people are thinking that it's easy to accidentally click one of these aircraft modes and it causes the aircraft to shut down in flight. So don't want that to happen. Alright, so we're ready for our push engine start check. So I'll go ahead and do the flow really quickly. Nozzle steering's off. We have the beacon on. Turn on the fuel pumps. And we need to turn our packs on. That'd be nice to have some airflow in the aircraft. And transponder. Captain's flying. So we're on the #1 side. And let's run the engine start check. FMS ACARS set. Fuel quantity 7,780 planned. As we briefed, 7,750 is on board. Beacon on. Nozzle steering off. Fuel pumps on. Doors. Let's check and make sure that they're showing closed. So hit that on the panel and we can see, yep, all the doors are closed. Definitely want to visually verify that. Transponder on. Flight deck door is locked. Engine start check complete and we're ready for pushback. I'm going to go ahead and tune in ground on the the COM 1 here. So that's going to be 121 point I'm sorry, 127.5 on the west side. And PilotEdge does not have you call for pushback. Just call for taxi. That sim you do call for pushback. So okay, let me try this. So if I hold down shift, oh yeah, look at that. Thank you so much for that tip. Charles Johnson, quickly, why is engine shut down? Are you referring to right now or? This should be in shut off. Is that what you were saying? Yeah. Huh. That is weird. That should be in shut off. Yep. Thank you. I don't know why those were in idle. It must have been a state problem. So, good catch, Charles Johnson. See, that's why you have a flight crew right there. I completely missed that doing the safety checks. So, we would have instantly had, well, it probably would have been kind of messed up. It might have worked in the Aerosoft CRJ, but you would not want that in real life. So, cool. So, we're in shut off. Good catch. let's see. So we are ready for 127.5 was the. I'm sorry. Yeah, 1275 was ground. We'll go ahead and put that in active here. We'll get tower up, which is going to be 128.75 on the west side. You'll see a lot of the checklists I shared, they are designed to where you do the most work before the aircraft is even moving, so you can spend your time focusing on the aircraft. So we're ready for pushback. Go ahead and tell the pushback crew to come on out here. Here they come. I press Shift P. We'll go ahead and release the park and brake. Like I said, we'll assume they had already connected and we're safe and good to go. And there they are connecting. Very cool. And I'm just going to make sure my PilotEdge, looks like my PilotEdge client disconnected for some reason. So I will reload that while we're pushing back. We'll start up here in just a second. I'm having a quick, have to reconnect on PilotEdge. It sounded really quiet on the network. Looks like we're logged back in, so good. Okay. And make sure you all aren't having to look at Alright. And we'll go ahead and stop the pushback right here. And then I'll go through the engine start. Got PilotEdge reconnected. We need to set the park and brake. So set it here, make sure you get the, always make sure you get the green advisory message park and brake on, which is there, and we're ready to start the engines. So fuel pumps on, packs are all set, bleed air is set, and we'll start number 1, then 2 since it's the first flight of the day. So hold the switch down, start switch down 2 to 5 seconds. Start our time. Try to get N2, we'll wait till it gets to 20%. Some N1. ITT's 4C, so quite cool. Alright, there's 20%. There we go. Fuel flow. I'll zoom in so y'all can see it here. And we should get light up any second. Here's a view. Let's see if we can get a quick view of the engine starting up. There it is. Very cool. And we have legitimate light up now. I don't seem to remember it taking that long. Evan Ward, yep, absolutely. Yeah, if y'all see something that pulls up on the screen like a window, let me know if you can't see, because I can't tell. I only see the flight sim window, so I have to check back and forth. Okay, so we have a good start there. We'll do the fuel check valve check. So fuel pumps off, and we look for that right fuel low pressure on the side that's shut down. Turn the fuel boost pumps back on, and we're starting number 2. And restart the chronometer here. There we go. Have N2. Oil pressure. N1. ITT is good. Just waiting on 20% now. So hit the red tab. Fuel flow. And I'll tell you, I've accidentally put this back into shut off, and it just causes a big problem on the Aerosoft CRJ. So you can see I actually pulled a little too far forward, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it alone until we start the engine, because looks like the yaw dampers didn't engage. Let me double check that really quickly. There we go. There's a lot of stuff to check on these aircraft. Alright, we had the starter cut out at 55%. You can see the starter lights are off up there. Alright, we have a good start. Alright, we'll go through our after start flow really quickly. We'll go ahead and get everything set up. We don't need our APU anymore. Got all of this set, conditioned air to turn that on in the cargo bin. And we do not need any cowl anti-ice today. We might need the wings and cowls for takeoff though, so I think we'll plan on turning those on. It's going to be pretty quickly after we take off that we'll be in the clouds. So let's go ahead and have that on. So after start check. We'll do the flaps 8. Oh no. Did you see that? Oh no. You know what? I bet you it's because I forgot to turn off the EFB. And it probably did some sort of a... that's that bug I heard about. That's why you need to know your grid more. It just shut down the whole airplane when I put the flaps down. But hey, at least I have it on video, right? Because we can... Here, I'm going to click ready for taxi. Let's see if it'll get us right back to where we were. I hope it does. It's starting up the engines for us. Well, guys and everybody watching, I'm glad we got to see one of the bugs I had heard about. So it is real. And it was when I selected the flaps to 8 with my SciTech thrust lever quadrant that it did that. So we're going to do an abbreviated startup here. Wow. Hey, at least we weren't over the Rocky Mountains when that happened. I am going to turn off the EFB as soon as we get everything running again because I do not want to chance that turning off again. Good. So it did an auto align of the IRS. The only bad thing, it kicked our entire... Wow, it kicked our entire flight plan out. And now it's trying to set takeoff thrust. We just blasted everyone behind us on the ramp. They'll get these bugs worked out. I will say I do like this CRJ so far. So, well, now you get to watch me program the FMS one more time. So we'll start with our status. Pause init. We gotta get that set up. I'm gonna do it really quickly, as quickly as I can, but can't compromise safety. Alright. Apologies. That was a bug that hopefully will get worked out soon. So this is remedial training on programming an FMS in the Aerosoft CRJ. So you select the runway first, Connor 7, Werner transition. Yeah, right, Evan? It's not fun when the flight plan goes away. And let me hold up. Let me pull up my sim brief. Zacor is the next intersection. So Zacor, and then direct to the airport. And I'm not going to put the runway in right now. So that's good. Flight plan distance 125, and we're 125. That's all as it should be. So we're going up to flight level 240. Fuel's at 7640 right now. Let's go ahead and go back to performance. We need to copy set payload and simulator, copy it to FMS, set all these speeds. Alright, that's all showing there. You know, one thing we did not do, we didn't set our alternate in there. So Colorado Springs, put that in the alternate, and then the perf init, our cruise altitude to the alternate's flight level 370. So you can just put an F in the in this Collins FMS and it'll fill in the FL. So that's a shortcut for you. ISA deviation. Gotta put all this back in. It was +3. And you'll have to look at the, I'll show you all where that stuff is some other time. The wind component's gonna be +23. You have to put a P, not a plus sign for this. So P23. And I have not found a flight plan that has it for the climb, cruise, and descent components, so I've just been putting it in P23 for all of them. But typically in the real world, you'll have a component for all of them. And then I'm just going to send in 2,000 for our reserve fuel. Taxi fuel is actually up at 500. Radios are auto-tuned. MFD menu, we'll set that up again. VNAV on the left. Hold up, we go to the next page. That's set. We get the LORAN position set. Do that again. And I've already talked through this with you all, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I'm just going to try to get this rolling. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting something. Predicted. Okay, cool. So that's all set. Let's just make sure that we have a complete flight plan here. We'll go to Format, Plan, roll in the range, and I'm just going to scroll through them all. Yep, that all looks correct. And foam's 10,000. And it just, look, we still have our landing elevation set. That's good. I'm not going to worry about the MDA right now. That was more of a demonstration. We know that the flap protraction is 6,400, and that's just a technique. Okay, I think we have everything else set. We're squawking 5104 up to 10,000. Flight plans all set, and looks like we're good to go for our taxi. I'm going to turn the logo light off. We don't need the taxi light on quite yet. Alright, I am going, let's check the speeds. 128, 136, 185, 146 in the bucket set. And runway heading was going to be 2. Initial heading was 263. Just get that set. Okay, cool. We're ready to go. And if that happened to you in real life, obviously you'd be going back to the gate if the entire aircraft just shut down right after you push back. I'm going to turn off this tablet so that we don't have any problems. Power it off. I heard on a forum that that might help. Okay, so now we're back to where we were. Let's do this. Charles Johnson, I had ground shut you down so I could watch the FMC sequence again. Oh, thanks, Charles. And, you know, I actually missed a few things the first time through, so I'm glad you got to see that. Some of the performance things with the ISA deviation, the temperature thing, and then the wind components. Those are important to put in there to get an accurate estimate on fuel. But let's do flaps 8, and then after start, so we say watch your knees, go to the flight control page, full left and right, and up and down, check the rudder, make sure it's working. This isn't really important too in the simulator if you're using external controls. Make sure that they're all working before you try to take off. Alright, and we'll run the after start check. Generators, auto, bleeds are auto, packs on, cargo air, conditioned air. Anti-ice is, we gotta make sure everything's set. Yep. Fuel pumps on, flight controls checked, rudder check, nose wheel steering, armed. After start check complete. Let's run the performance check. FMS runway 25, and first fix is foams, which is set. Thrust full 88.3. Trims 5.8. Needs to be 5.8 centered, so you gotta check this stuff. So 5.8 and centered, and you make sure they're all in the green. We don't want to end up like my friend XP. Flaps 8 planned, 8 indicating. Speeds 128, 128, 136, 185, 146 in the bucket set. Performance check complete. Clear right, clear left, and we're heading to the west for our taxi. So here we go. Get our nose light on, recog taxi, and we'll begin our taxi. Apologize for that, having to restart there. That was odd. I have confidence Aerosoft will have that fixed very shortly, because I know I am not the only person that's had that happen to me. and I'll probably submit the clip to Aerosoft so that they can see exactly what was going on there. It was right when I selected flaps. And I'm guessing there must be something quirky going on with that button on my controller, and it's somehow translating over to the EFB, because one of the developers on the forum I was reading said that I think they're going to try to find a way where it's really difficult for someone to, or for that total shutdown phase to be triggered. Because if it happens to us in flight, like I said, we're going 16,800 and we're likely going to be diverting back to Denver. We're not going to be landing at Aspen if we have a complete shutdown. And while I just love the scenery here in Flight Sim. Look at the Rockies out to the west. You can't beat that view. That's just incredible. Wow. Alright, so we'll be coming up to 4 West, 4 Whiskey here in just a second. Now, have any of you been able to fly the Aerosoft CRJ in Flight Simulator yet? Any of you watching? If you have, what are your impressions so far? I'm really enjoying it, other than the auto shutdown, but I know that's just a release bug that it will go away. Okay, let's do a quick check and see if we have we probably have a new ATIS now.
17 right, 258. Visual approaches in use. ILS runway 16 left, runway 16 right, runway 17 right, and runway 17 left approach in use. Multiple RNUV Zulu approaches in use. VFR departures contact clearance delivery. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if fit following is requested. Read back all runway assignments and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Papa.
Alright, so it's still Papa.
Denver International. ATIS.
Denver ground, SkyWest 5733 approaching spot 4 Whiskey with Papa. You know what? Hold up. Let's set our brakes here. Let me make sure that they are, I'm not hearing anybody.
SkyWest 5733, Denver ground, runway 25, taxi via Golf.
Runway 25, taxi via Golf, SkyWest 5733. Alright, 25 via Golf, that's going to be the second left up here. Here we go. As briefed. Evan Moore, not yet, but I'm definitely picking it up. Alright, awesome. Great to hear. I would recommend it. It is worth it, in my opinion. And I think it's only going to get better. Because obviously now on release, they have a lot of data. Charles Johnson, you like it, but you could not get your autopilot to engage. Guess you missed some. Now so I was test flying the plane the other night, and one thing I noticed was that when I disengaged the autopilot, this disconnect bar was coming down and staying down. So I had to actually click it in order to re-engage the autopilot. So see if maybe that could help with that issue. I know that worked for me, but alright, here's Golf, so we'll take our left turn on the Golf. And we're heading straight down for runway 25. Alright, so once we're on this straightaway, we'll do a quick takeoff briefing, which will include a few pertinent items. For example, it's just going to basically be going through our initial departure plan and aircraft configuration once again, staying on that shared mental model between the flight crew. And you all are all a part of the flight crew today. I always consider my viewers a part of the flight crew, so if something seems out of whack, please speak up, let me know. So we're planning runway 25 out of Denver, be full rated thrust. Bleeds will be on the engines. We'll have the wing and cowl anti-ice on for the low clouds. We don't have to have them on, but I'm going to go ahead and turn them on. I know the Aerosoft CRJ has maybe had some problems with icing also. Wow, look at this uneven taxiway. Like we're off-roading here. But anyways, if we lose an engine, we're going to make a left turn heading 180, and we're going to retract the flaps at 6,400. We're going to climb up to 10,000, work out the problem, and likely come back around to land here at Denver. We're flying the Connor 7 departure, initially a heading of 263. First fix is foams at or below 10,000. 10,000 set on the departure, and we need to accelerate to 250 knots as soon as we can. 290 above 10,000 feet. And the only threat, we have the mountains out to the west. For out over the mountains, drift down altitude is going to be 16,800 feet MSL. We know our aircraft is having some severe engine issues today, so you'll look out for that. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and do the before takeoff check to the line now. Pull up my checklist over here on my EFB. Alright, takeoff briefing complete. Crossflow auto override is on. We'll turn the continuous ignition on. We might have some gusty winds. You never know with the Rocky Mountains around. Nav instruments are checked. Fuel quantity 7280 min fuel. We have 7,650 on board and balanced. ICAS is checked, and then we need to box those status messages with the status button here. So CAS is checked and cleared. We see all our trims are in the green, very important. And brake temperature is checked, it's in the green, and cabin ready. Before takeoff check to line complete. Let's switch over to tower now. 128.75. And I'm going to have to stop it for a second here. I need to make sure I have the right frequencies in. 128.75, and then departure is going to be 121.6, or I'm sorry, 126.1. And typically you could have your first officer do this while you're focused on taxiing as the... Here, let me hold down shift, see if that helps. Oh yeah, that does help. Thank you so much for that tip. And the zoom in out, both of you guys, thank you. So departure's set there. We do have the transponder on. Okay, good. Alright. So we're ready. Denver Tower, Skywest 5733, holding short runway 25. Over.
Skywest 5733, Denver Tower, runway 27, clear for crash runway 25, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 25, Skywest 5733. Alright, so we're clear for takeoff. We have runway 25 on the sign there, looking at 263 heading when we line up. Let's do takeoff. Before takeoff check below the line. We'll turn on all our lights there. And let's get the wing and cowl anti-ice on as we briefed. Hopefully that doesn't do something crazy to the engines here, and when we get on the runway, this is very important. We gotta hit the toga button on the thrust levers, and I do not have it bound to anything. I'll show it to you in a second. So takeoff configuration is checked. We have that green takeoff configuration advisory message there. Hey, what's up, buddy? It's a citation jet going the opposite way. Oh, that's great. Takeoff configuration checked. Anti-ice standard plus wing and cowl. N1 is checked. ADA 4 external lights set for takeoff check complete. Hit the toga button, this black button right here, and you'll see Toto Flight directors are up. That updates the runway position in the FMS, and we're ready to roll. I have controls. Here we go. Alright, so we get to the 50% and set thrust. Alright, you can get this setting to where it'll show you the D10 it's in. So we're in Toga. We'll make sure it gets to within 2%. And thrust set. $80 knots, check. And we're gonna little off center line V1, rotate, here we go. And smooth 3 degrees per second on your rotation, positive rate, gear up. Speed mode, nav mode.
Skies 5733, contact pressure.
Skies 5733, good day. And autopilot on, above 1600 feet. And we'll switch over to departure now. That's why you need to get set up before you take off. Let's roll our speed mode up to 250 here. Departure skies 5733, 7,500, climbing via the Connor 7.
Skies 5733, Denver departure, radar contact.
It didn't capture our nav mode, so I'm going to try to turn us back over there. And flaps 1. Flaps up after takeoff check. And set climb thrust. There we go. See if nav mode will arm now. Whoops, there we go. FMS 1, there we go. Let's do our after takeoff check. Man cross flow back to auto. I'm going to turn the continuous ignition off. We'll leave the wing and cowl anti-ice on for now. 9 for 10,000, outs cap, and we'll accelerate. Turn the thrust reversers off, and let's run through our after takeoff check. Gear up, flaps 0. Crossflow auto override is an auto. Thrust is climb detent. Set. Accelerate to 290 here. And they won't yell at you when you're leveling off at 10, even though you're a little below it. So see, we had to set 10,000 because see, we're still a few miles from foam, so we would have blown right through that altitude. So I'm actually going to have to pull the thrust levers back so we don't overspeed here. Alright, there we go. Thrust reversers off to ICUS. Let's check and clear that really quickly. Hit stat, unbox them, hit stat again, you can box them back up there. After takeoff check complete. Alright, so we're past foams, we can climb up to flight level 230, the top altitude, and the Connor 7 departure. So I'm going to set 230 and set higher altitude, get us going for now. I set climb detent. There we go. And it should climb us at 290 for now. And flight level 230 is set. And we're off. Okay, so we're above 10,000. Give the flight attendants the bells. Usually use the no smoking sign for that. And just like in the real plane, you can't hear those sign noises in the cockpit in the 700 usually. You can in the CRJ 200. You cannot in the CRJ 700 and 900 for sure. Look at that beautiful view out there. The mountains. Wow. Let's get a quick view in the back. Let's check out some of these. You can see they did model the cabin in the Aerosoft CRJ, which is cool. A little view on the other side here. And some engine views. Beautiful view of the Rockies up ahead. There's an exterior view. It still has the interior sounds. I had to use this view in order to set up those interior views. So there are a lot of YouTube videos out about it now, but if y'all have any questions about setting your own custom views, just let me know. Be happy to try to help you. It's not too difficult. You just have to know the right file to look for. This is a very quick flight, so we are going to have to really be careful about getting our approach setup into Aspen.
In ground sky,
Alright, there's flight 180, so 2992 on the altimeters
Zulu weather. I'd like to pick
is
up an
cross-check
IFR clearance
and
to Bremerton.
turn off our landing lights, recalc taxis, wing inspection, logos, leave the rest of them on.
For 5363
Altimeters 292 cross-check,
anytime
stern
you're
lights
looking
set,
for
climb
flight
check complete.
following or picking up an IFR clearance, you always want to go to the
Turn the wing anti-ice off.
lowest frequency available at the airport. So if ground's the only option, you'll call ground. If there's a clearance delivery, you need to make your request for clearance delivery. Go ahead and contact clearance.
Alright, Evan Moore, how does the CRJ's flight model feel for you?
Skyline 5733, climb and maintain flight level 240, contact and center 120.47.
Level 240, 2047, Skyline 5733. So there's 240 set, and we go to 12047. And Evan Moore, how does the CRJ's flight model feel to you? You know, I'll be honest, it's pretty good. You can't really simulate. Hold up, we're about to level off outscap. I'm gonna pull our thrust back. Even the like really fancy simulators that you train on at the airlines, they do not perfectly model what it's like in real life.
Clearance delivery, Sky 5363 kilo.
There's no substitute for the real thing, but I will say it's pretty good.
563 kilo, I'd like to pick up my IFR clearance to...
I will say the systems and the switches are really good. A big chunk of flying is mental, so...
5363 kilo, clear to
this is definitely good for that. Alright, I'm going to try to speed this up just a smidge.
Direct, maintain 2000, expect 4000, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 120.4, squawk 4214.
I think the autopilot's a little wonky. I mean, look at it right now, it's kind of swimming around a little bit. But...
everything again.
So I did turn on turbulence mode, which that makes it to where if it's bouncing around like we are right now, the autopilot isn't going to be as aggressive about keeping a specific altitude or heading. Center flight level, or center Skywas 5733, flight level 240.
Skywas 5733, center, thank you.
Alright, let's...
And number 5363 kilo, after paying VOR,
yeah, it's a great plane, more. If you're interested in the CRJ, it's a good plane to buy. Alright, I'm going to tune in our
frequency is 120.4
ATIS for
and the squawk is 4214.
Aspen 120.4. Let me clear this out of the scratch pad down here. This is all going to happen pretty quickly now, so
60 kilo, read that correct?
My frame rates are really going downhill on my computer. Hope it's not getting too bad at home for y'all. My computer's having a little trouble at the moment. Okay, 120.40. We'll put that in COM 2 standby. Let's listen up for that. And honestly, I'm not going to worry about, I don't want to go too fast on this leg, because it's a busy leg. So I'm going to leave the Cal anti-ice on for now, because you can see our static air temperature is negative 37 C. We're still in icing conditions at negative 40 C and warmer, and when the TAT is less than plus 10 C. So we are in icing conditions when we get into the clouds, so Cal anti-ice needs to stay on. Wing would need to come on until we're below 230 knots, or if we had the ice green advisory message enunciated. So, and we're not picking up the, oh, there it is. Thought I heard it for a second. One good thing about PilotEdge, you can So if you go to pilotedge.net, they have the ATISs available on there. So Pilot Center. Okay, so we're getting some decent turbulence. So we need to go to our turbulence penetration speed. We turn on the continuous ignition. Let's assume this is moderate or heavier. It's kind of light. Hard to tell in real life, but 280 knots or 0.75 Mach, whichever is lower. So obviously our Mach right now is 0.70, so 280 knots is lower. So we're going to slow to 280 knots for going through this turbulence over the Rocky Mountains. And typically you want to move the range out till you can see the next fix on the MFD. That's just good practice. And you have to do manual adjustment of the thrust levers. Which I will say, it's a little easier in the actual plane to set the thrust. It's not as delayed as it is in the simulator here. Alright, let me stay focused and get our ATIS. So I set us up for the proper approach. I think we're going to have to fly the localizer because we don't have the RNAV approach in the FMS database. So Windsor, current ATIS there is Foxtrot. Winds are 210 at 8, 10 miles and clear skies, 3 degrees, -6 for the dew point, 3019 on the altimeter, and arriving 15. So I think it's going to be the Loc DME Echo to 15. So
Skywards 5733, cross Warner at or above flight level 200.
cross Warner at or above flight level 200, skies 5733. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just send us down to flight level 200. So there's 20. You have to hold down this vertical speed button sometimes for it to activate. Center skies 5733, vacating flight level 240. And that call I just made, that's one that you're technically supposed to make in the Airman's Information Manual here in the US, but honestly, in the real world, pilots don't always make it, especially if the frequency is a busy one. So there's that banana bar I was telling you about. That shows where we're going to reach the altitude in the altitude selector.
5363 kilo.
So it's kind of swinging as you can see as we go, but that was what we saw in the MFD menu. Right, oh, I'm sorry. Page 2, range altitude select. Because see if I deselect it, it's gone. But that is such a nice tool to have. So always make sure you have that selected if you want it. Sounds like we're starting to pick up the ATIS a little bit. Alright, so Aspen, Colorado, Pitkin, Sardi, 21st August 2011-1 Loc DME is the approach. 111.5 is going to be the frequency. Yeah, land 15. Okay, perfect. Alright, cool. I'm going to go ahead and mute that. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so let's set it in 111.5. Standing by on the radio tuning unit there. And then red table is, I'm going to go ahead and get all this set up in here. We can't, I don't know why it does not have the approach in there. That is unfortunate, but I'll put a few fixes in here just so we have it. Red table is going to be Delta Bravo Lima. And that's actually going to be...
Skywest 33, correction, Skywest 5733, contact Aspen approach 123.8.
123.8, skies 5733. Okay, 123.8. 21 for 20. Almost close to 250 knots also. Energy management is crucial going into any of these high altitude airports, especially Aspen. Aspen approach, Scouts 5733, level 205, descend to 200 with Foxtrot.
Scout 6733, Aspen approach, Aspen altimeter 3019er, thanks for Foxtrot. Do you have approach request?
Scouts 5733 requests the Lope DME Echo, Aspen.
Scout 5733, roger. 5,000 heading, descend and maintain 14,000, reduce speed to 210 or less.
Present heading, descend to 14,000, 210 or less on the speed, Scouts 5733. Alright, 210 or less on the speed, descend to 14,000, we'll set that in. You can see things get busy here at the end. And this is honestly a lot easier when you have a first officer to help you out. So we're going to turn the wing anti-ice back on because we're getting below 230 knots now. And I'm actually going to deploy the flight spoilers to help us get down. And we're going to use speed mode. I think it will let us do that. I'll have to keep an eye on it. And I'm going to hold off on extending any of the leading edge devices or flaps since we're in icing conditions right now. So I put in the first fix there, red table. From there, Jargu is going to be our initial fix. I'm just building this just so we have a reference. You would not want to be doing this in real life, honestly. You wouldn't have to usually. So Jargu, let me execute that. And what do we say? 3019er is the altimeter. Let me get that set really quickly just so we. I'm going to do really quickly the descent flow. We just turn on all our landing lights. Logo wing inspection basically. Okay, good. I'm going to leave continuous ignition on for the entire landing. And then after Jargu, I'm going to put in the final approach fix, which is DOIP. DOIP. Alright. And I'm going to execute that. Okay, so airport elevation was 7840. We have that set. MDA for this runway is going to be 10,220. Let me set that in. I'm going to hold down shift. I appreciate y'all telling me about that. Hopefully that helps. It's going a little faster. It's still going to take a while to get to 10,220 feet here.
Main tower, Skyak 536 kilos, holding short of 16 right, ready for takeoff.
Wow, it's taking a while here.
5360 kilo, Payne Tower, runway 16 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, Skyak 536
Well, while it's coming up, MSA is 13,100 to the northwest, 15,700 around to the all other quadrants around Red Table VOR. Missed approach, climbing right turn to 14,000. 300 heading, and the IPKN localizer, which I'll have to get that set in soon. Outs cap, so let's focus on flying the airplane really quickly. Maintain 210 or less. I'm actually going to slow us back, I think, to 180 knots. Which is a good speed for. Alright, let's go flaps 1 now. We're out of the tops of the clouds. That's where you get the most icing typically. Look at how beautiful these mountains are out here though. You just can't beat these views in Microsoft Flight Simulator, aside from going and looking at the real thing. Alright. I need to stay focused.
733 for heading 170 to the localizer.
Heading 170, join the localizer, Skywest 5733. Alright, there's 170. Let's make the localizer frequency active here. I need to get our flight spoilers back in. There we go. And we go green needles, which has not picked up the localizer yet. 111.15. Oh, that's why. There we go. There, now we got it. We got a...
Sky 5733, you are 4 miles from Jargo, maintain 14,000 to establish localizer, clear localizer, echo approach.
Maintain 14,000 till established, clear localizer, echo approach, Skywest 5733. Alright, we gotta turn it back over there to... Getting a little slow here. We'll leave wings and cowl anti-ice on for the approach. We need to get our speed set, so hopefully we don't lose both engines when I turn this on. Alright, Jargo, we can go down to 13.4 once we're on the look, which we do have it now. So let's go ahead, we're on the look. Ah. It's getting crazy here. Flaps 8. 5 miles from Doipi, we're going to want to be at, go ahead and lower our gear. It'll be 2,000 feet per minute on the descent down. Our approach speed ref is going to be 132. So I'll set V2, VFTO, and it won't let you.
660 kilo contact, Seattle departure.
Alright,
Departure 6 kilo.
gear down.
Sky 5733, contact Aspen Tower.
Skies 5733, good day. 18.85.
Seattle approach, Sky 536 kilo is 2,000, just departed Payne.
5363 kilo, Seattle departure, radar contact.
Alright, runway's in sight. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the autopilot. Let's cap. I'm going to set in our 9.7. We go down to 12,300 at this point. Let's turn it into a visual approach at this point. Aspen Tower, Skies 5733 outside Doipi.
Sky 5733, Aspen Tower, runway 15, clear to land.
Clear to land runway 15. Skies 5733. Alright, we gotta go 2,000 feet per minute to get down. And I need to keep the flaps coming out. We need to go flaps 30. Get the thrust reversers armed. We gotta keep the descent coming down. It's gotta be at least 2,000 feet per minute. This is a very steep approach, as you can see.
But you are
I'm gonna turn off the ground props.
The procedure incorrectly. Taking off runway 16 right, you should have flown a heading of 163.
Well, I'm not gonna worry about it. We'll probably get a ground props
to join your route. You're over Payne now. Proceed on course.
So this is where you would break out
Fly over the Payne
approximately.
VOR after departure.
For 5363 kilo, it's Payne 6 departure to Payne, then direct Wilmox 2.
And flaps 45 now.
But you have to read the departure procedure in order to understand what that entails. Climb and maintain 4,000.
6 kilo, 2,000 for 4,000.
And you have to keep it coming down. I went a little crazy there, but. And we'll reduce vertical speed here in a bit. By 500 feet, we need to be basically established here. So land check, gear down, flaps 45, 45, and thrust reversers arm. Land check complete.
1,000. Sync rate.
And we're Aspen stable.
Sync rate.
Alright, we're getting on to the VASI now, we are on it, so we need to get back below 1,000 feet per minute descent, so we are now stable before 500 feet, or right at it. So it's a really tight window coming into Aspen here. A very tough approach. And we're a little slow, let me get a little more extra thrust in there. You can see we have an icy runway up ahead. And reducing vertical speed.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Got a little bit of a stutter on my end, guys. Sorry. And we're down. Get us back on the center line. Suppose green. 90 knots. And it'll slowly slow us down here. Typically, you wouldn't want to deploy the thrust reversers until you have that nose wheel on the ground. Let me try to stop us here. I know they want us off the runway. Alright, there we go. That's a busy approach, guys. Honestly, you'd really help to have another pilot helping you out there. But it's a lot of fun. Alright, so we'll clear the runway at Alpha 6 and they'll transfer us over to ground, likely. Alright, we gotta stop once we get clear of the runway.
Paying ground, radio check.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and switch over to ground 1219 and let them know we're clear here. You better not taxi without them giving you a clearance on PilotEdge, let me tell you. They will get mad. So I'm doing the old, let me hold down shift. 1219, okay, let me call him. Aspen ground, Scottish 5733, clear 15, Alpha 6, taxi to the terminal.
Scottish 5733, when you exit the runway, you want to wait for Tower to give you the handoff. You can remain on this frequency, have a great night, and taxi to Park V Alpha.
Taxi Park V Alpha, Scottish 5733, good night. Alright, we'll keep moving. Well, I could have talked to her on the other frequency
Good evening,
too.
Archer 30322 on the west ramp near Hotel
We'll get
1
back.
Charlie. We'd like
I'm
to
gonna go ahead and raise the
taxi
flaps.
to
Typically, if you
16
landed
right at
on a
Alpha 6
contaminated
for a
runway
southwest
like that,
departure.
you would
30322, paying ground runway 16 right, taxi via Alpha.
you would maybe wait to raise the flaps.
16
We turn the
right,
wing
via
anti-ice
Alpha
off now,
322.
leave the cowl on since we have snow on the taxiways, and we're going to go ahead and start up the APU. Alright, let's see if we have a good parking spot here. Looks like we do right up in here. And also, yes, this is important. 2 minutes is the cooldown limitation for the engines after you're taxiing in. So we're at gate 5, it looks like, here in Aspen. And we have the radars off, good, so we're not going to fry anybody. That's always important. Nincompoop, do I recommend getting the CRJ for flight sim? Yes, I do. It is a... If you want some sort of transport category study level aircraft on flight sim, I would recommend it. It's a little buggy at the moment, but it is good. And Charles Johnson, thank you for the kind comments. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. And Evan Moore, thank you also for your support. I appreciate it. Alright, we're stopped here. Let's go ahead and set our parking brake. We have our thrust levers at idle. And turn off the turbulence mode. I don't know, I accidentally left that on there. I'll get that off. Alright, so now that we're stopped, we'll turn off the anti-ice before we shut down the engine. And let's go ahead and transponder back to standby. And we'll shut down 2, then, or 1, then 2. Here we go. Well, see, that's the weird thing that'll happen with the... Let me just pull them down. having trouble getting these to, there we go. Alright, now we got them shut down. It gets a little hard to move them sometimes. But yeah, make sure you have that APU running before you shut the engines down, or
Main tower, good
yeah,
evening.
obviously
Archer 30322
that's some
holding
problems.
short 16
Alright,
right
we'll get
at
the
Alpha
chocks
6
in,
Southwest departure.
get a ground power cart connected, open the doors,
30322
turn off the
Canadian
beacon.
Tower. I don't believe you were
And
assigned or approved
both
for
signs
an
off.
section departure. If you made the request,
Check the hydraulics really quickly.
you can
Make
always
sure they're
remind
all
the
in the
controller.
green, which they are.
Otherwise,
All the
if they do not
quantities in the
assign an
green up here.
intersection, you're expected to go full length.
And we'll turn off the
Runway
hydraulic
16
pumps.
right at Alpha 6, clear for takeoff, straight out departure approved.
Clear for takeoff, runway 16 right at Alpha 6,
There we
Archer
go.
322.
And you can see they'll start going down. And if you're wondering what sort of things are powered on the hydraulic systems, they're all listed right here. And typically, you can see some things are powered by all three hydraulic systems, like the rudders, the elevators. You at least have one of the ailerons at all times if you have at least one hydraulic system, but just a quick cool thing to look at. So let's go ahead and run through our, turn off nozzle steering here. Let's go ahead and run through our parking check. So parking brakes on, transponder standby, radar off, flaps 0, seatbelts off, anti-ice. Oh, I forgot to turn off the windshields and probes on the way in. That's something you want to turn off on the usually on after landing flow. So anti-ice is off, electrical set, fuel check valve. Turn off the fuel pumps. We checked that. Thrust levers shut off, fuel pumps off, ignition is off, continuous ignition is off, hydraulics checked off, beacon off, nozzle steering off, parking check complete. Alright, and they'll be deplaning the passengers here for a bit. There is another check we could do, the power down check at the end, but I'll wait to do that. We can turn off we can go ahead and turn off the IRSs now that we've been at the gate for a bit, not moving, and you'll see PFD, all of that powers down. But thank y'all so much for joining this evening, being a part of the crew in here to Aspen. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and stay tuned to the channel. I look forward to bringing you all more content and other things as we enjoy learning about this Aerosoft CRJ together. And until then, VRF Simmer signing off. I'll close this out with some music and a few views from around here in Aspen. Thanks again for joining. I'll see you again soon.
Seattle Coach, Kayak Flight 50 Kilo has Zulu weather at Bremerton. Would like to request the ILS 20 for straight in.
Kilo, you are 9.5 miles from Womack. Maintain at 3,000 till established localizer cleared ILS, runway 20 approach.
Sister Kilo would like to do a full stop and leaving 4,000 before 3,000, Sister Kilo.
Sister Kilo, did you copy the approach clearance?
Kilo has a clearance for ILS 20 and I'd like to request a full stop.
That's assumed unless you're